All right, it's 11 o'clock. Should we get started? We have Danelle and Sarah. We're going to lead a discussion about our coaching feedback. And then we can just open it up for whatever, but let's start with the icebreaker. Either shout it out or put it in the chat. If Santa were real, what job would he have in the off season? That's a good one. Judge who's naughty and who's nice. I like that. What else?
I'm not going to put this in the chat because I don't want to get in trouble, but Santa's a creep. He's breaking into people's houses. He's probably a pedophile. I'm concerned about him. I don't think he has a job in the off season.
No job, just a pedophile driving a
child porn
Really?
server. It's interesting because when my son was little, I was clearly like, wow, I need to back off on talking to my kid about like good touch, bad touch, creepy things, whatever. Because he was like, Mom, don't you think it's super creepy that Santa just comes into our house when we're sleeping and like drops presents off? Like he makes sure you're sleeping. Like that's creepy. And I'm like,
Probably
ugh.
stands over you and breathes for a while, right? Yeah.
Jenny, you've done a good job as a parent and also a sex offender agent.
Like I was like, oh,
Hallmark
now
reader.
Jack doesn't want to sleep on Christmas Eve because he's creeped out by Santa.
Sean, there's a level 3 in Fairmont whose legit alias was listed as Santa. Oh,
John
God,
Cox. Do you remember
that
him, Kelly?
Oh my God, that didn't help.
He was old, had a big white beard, and one of his aliases on the level 3 website was Santa.
Sam says he thinks he died.
Yes, he was soiling himself when I last saw him, so he wasn't in a good place.
Huh. What his headstone says. What do you think John Cox's headstone
He was
says?
soiling himself the last time I saw him. That's what's on his headstone.
John Cox soils himself. Oh boy. Yikes. Yeah, this icebreaker went sideways. I agree. I know, but that's part of why you do it, Janelle. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to answer the question, you just have to break the ice. That's the whole point.
We've all fallen through the ice at this point.
Yeah, right. So anyway, if I can just start us off, I just had some really, really good feedback from the commissioner and from Kelly from last week, and from others who the commissioner talked to, because like he's kind of leaning on the facilities to do some of the things that y'all are doing, to jumpstart some of the things that they've been trying to do forever there, which, may or may not work considering their context. I mean, you can't just jump into coaching when you don't have a practice model. You can't, some of those things that he was just super impressed with. But they've been calling me in and giving me feedback that he's super impressed. I think it was super helpful to continue to talk about the finances of everything, because I'm able to reinforce that, and I've got, I don't want to go into it, but I've been leaning on him to for the operating adjustment and what we might do, and how we might pull some money out of our management admin outside of what it is that we put onto counties and whatnot. So no promises, it's just going in the right direction, and it was just super helpful. So number one, he was super impressed with everybody, which he should have been, and number two, the feedback was really helpful for all of us. So thank you. Any feedback about how that went?
This could just be a Mark issue, but I'm really still not understanding the AI answer.
Okay, what specific question do you have? Like, where's it at? Like, what are we doing with it?
Correct. Is it just
Okay.
on pause? Are we using
No.
Copilot only? Are we still looking into it?
Yeah,
Is all the work that was done previously for naught?
no. Keep firing off questions. I'll keep answering with yes or no's. I'm just kidding. Yep, Copilot for right now. I don't know if pause is the right answer. It's certainly not dead. I mean, the let me give you a little context. Like, no counties are anywhere near or willing to dive into AI the way that like Brian and Dan and others have done. Very concerned about the risk of malware. I don't know. Like, I don't know enough about the comment, and that leads into neither does the commissioner or the executive team. And so what they want to do is like if I was them, I think they would say, like, we don't know enough about any of this shit to give you a thumbs up or thumbs down. So we want to create a committee that does know more about this and discusses it and says, yep, that will work, or that will work with these, or we need to work with Minute on that, or whatever it is. Like, they don't have the expertise to really to really judge it, but they do know that they want to have people in place that can do that. And so they formed Dan, what was it called?
Emerging technology.
Emerging Technology Committee that will make recommendations to the commissioner on such things. They reached out to me and they said, put somebody on, and I said, Dan, and others are on it. And what's good about what we've already done is we've already explored. Dan and Brian put together a request for governance for Minute already, which isn't exactly it, but you already articulated what it is that you're doing, the risks involved, all that stuff. So it's almost like teed up for like to be the first thing through the door, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know that there's anybody else that's that prepared. And so I think with the extra vetting through that committee, the executive team's will feel far more comfortable allowing us to do more. And if we can articulate it in that way, perhaps we can get the support for funding exploration. I would love to see some integration with CSTS. Like, why would we not do this if this is going to be the way of the world? So no, not all is for naught. I think that what's been done and explored already will be a great learning experience, and be able to be talking points for all of us, especially Brian and Dan. And I think that you know, if they're if this is going to be the first thing on their docket, I could see Brian and myself and some others coming in, along with Dan, to do a presentation on this and say, in my estimation, this is how I'd approach it. Agents are already using this, whether you think they are or not. People are already using AI, whether you think they are or not. So let's give some guidance and um, let's get something down on paper so that they know, and we can give some direction to people to say, this is what you should be doing, this is what you should stay away from. And it just adds a little bit more structure to the governance of it. So that's all. It did slow it down though. And so any other reactions to, I don't know, meeting in general, or that time with the commissioner?
I'll just share, I wish we had more time for question and answer and to have discussions versus, I mean, it's great to introduce everybody and all that, but I mean, it's very limited time, so maybe I'm oversharing.
Well, you're oversharing, but I don't want to completely disagree with you, but I think that from the feedback from him is that was the most impactful for him to understand and to be fucking wowed by everything that's going on. And Kelly, as much as I talked to her about what's going on, she's like, and I didn't even realize some of, that that, it had progressed to that point. So, I thought that was it's good for them to hear what it is that you're doing and how it is that you articulate it. But no, I thought that was time well spent. I didn't think it would go that long, but just watching their faces, it was pretty evident that was impactful. So,
well, I'm wondering if he'd even be willing to come back at some point in the future.
For sure.
Like, yeah. So, like, maybe this isn't the end.
He's totally willing. To my best, I know some people disagreed, but he's like, I don't think I've ever been asked. He's like, I don't know that. I didn't even know you had those. The guy's getting pulled 1,000 different directions, and unless we're kind of teeing him up for something, it's going to fall off his radar unless we're bugging him. So, yeah, he's totally willing to come back. So, all right. I'm sorry, Danelle, were you going to start with the feedback, the information?
Sure, I certainly can, unless Sarah, you wanted to take the lead. I've got it pulled up, so whatever works for you.
You guys take over. I'll just be quiet.
I can do the feedback part, the survey stuff. If I could do that first, because I got to bug out of here at about 10 to 12 for a corrections advisory meeting. Let me just pull it up here, unless you want to share it, Danelle, and I just go through it. That works too.
Yeah, let's go ahead and it says that I'm sharing, so hopefully that's true.
Yes, you are. Thank you. Just take me 1 second here, quick. Something up on my side. Okay. Second. Okay. So we had sent out that survey for everybody to kind of fill out regarding kind of what's going on in every area for coaching circles. Part of it was just curiosity and just kind of to see where we're at and maybe what people are needing for different support in that. You go ahead to the next slide. So this is kind of the breakdown. So about 60% are having circles monthly. and about 40% are having it every other month. Some note monthly were planned, but maybe it just didn't work out. Maybe somebody didn't have an audio, or maybe there was some different issues with getting everybody together. And some others alternate doing like COP, like maybe skill practice things 1 month, and then the next month they might do a coaching circle doing the every other month. And then circle format, have different things going on, and probably according to kind of your setup. I mean, I think a lot of times like the ISR folks, at least down the south, are doing it virtually. Majority are doing it, 50% are doing it in person. Hybrid, which could mean that maybe you have some in person and some virtual within your district, or it could mean that I used to do this, and I wouldn't suggest it's kind of cumbersome, where we had some people that were virtual and some people in person in the same circle. And that was a little bit cumbersome, but we might have some of that going on out there. And I'm not really sure, what the other was. I guess that's probably, left up to what's going on in those areas.
Yeah, someone had just listed as other, and I think the person added some comments in, and the comments were basically that it kind of just depends, right? Like on what's going on. And so that, like, I don't know. So if it was like a snowstorm or like what was going on with the agents or that kind of a thing. So maybe it alternated.
Got it. So they'd switch it to like a virtual platform on an as needed basis. That makes sense. Good. Next slide.
So it kind of depended on agent schedules and stuff.
Yeah. So kind of who is expected in the coaching circles. Majority across the board, no surprises there, that all agents are expected to be a part of coaching circles. Some did with all traditional agents. And when that was happening, a lot of times they might have like a sex offender specific coaching circle going, or they might have some other alternatives going on to kind of meet the needs of those specific caseloads. 10% said that agents, DSs, and corrections programs directors are to be a part of them. So we've got kind of a mix of a few different things going on, but certainly the expectation is that all agents are doing some type of coaching circle, whether it's ESO specific or otherwise. So who kind of leads and facilitates the coaching circles? Again, kind of a mixed bag of different things going on. Some places agents are leading them. Some places the agents and the district supervisor are leading them. And that's the majority, that's 80%. And in those cases, what it sounded like is the DS, and we get this, can't always be at the circle every single time, but maybe is there most of the time. But they have some agents that are, trusted to kind of take over when in their absence. 10%, it's majority DS or corrections program director are kind of leading those groups. And then a 10% did a rotation, probably similar to what we're doing in some of our supervisor circles, where it rotates who kind of leads that group. So supervisors in coaching circles, all supervisors said pretty much 90% responded they have presented their own audio in the coaching circle. 60% have observed all or most coaching circles. So again, we're having the majority of supervisors really being actively involved in the coaching circles and doing a lot of that work alongside their agents. And obviously, being vulnerable. I mean, I love to see that 90% people kind of putting themselves out there as a good example and role model. So that's really awesome to see.
And just to add the note in that other is just I attend as often as possible, but when I attend, I participate in coaching. So.
Yeah. Great. Audio sharing. So follow the prompts, history of client, LSCMI information, audio shared. So they're making sure to give, information beforehand, a rotation and no details shared. So I'm kind of trying to remember, Danelle, about this question, how it was exactly. Is this the background information we give about the audio before sharing? Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think that from the answers, I don't, maybe we could have been a little bit more clear in the question. So like when you say the rotation, it's like 30% indicate the person presenting shares the audio on rotation. So we asked like, how do you share your audio? So they said like the teams have rotations, they set up and decide who presents and who facilitates each session, and then really the agent would play the audio, and then they would pause if there's any questions. So yeah, so I don't know. So it's possible that people in rotation also said they, or also do follow the prompts. I don't know. We'll have to see. But that basically is, it was kind of open-ended, right? So people kind of said, what the information was, and the no details share people just, played the audio. So, but for the most part, it sounded like either the agent was saying, hey, I'm rotating and now it's my turn to share the audio, and that they shared the audio. But other people were saying they follow the prompts. And I thought it was Holly, but someone had said something like they were using the documents to say, hey, here are some of the prompts, if that helps.
Yep. To kind of queue up sharing the audio and doing a rotation. Yep, absolutely. So engagement in coaching circles, this was just kind of our, what we're kind of feeling and thinking about how people are feeling engaged and bought into it. So what was, we had the highest percent was very engagement, experience, office buy-in. So it might depend on your office, right? I mean, I have 3 different offices that we have a little bit different engagement and buy-in in each of those offices. Can be that level of experience of the agent. As far as if they're newer agents, maybe they're a little more adaptable, and maybe some of our agents that have been around a while, maybe, have more questions about what the experience should be and if they're invested or not. So we have kind of varied, and I think that's a pretty good number. I love the very engaged by all participants, 30%. I love to see that, and that we've made a lot of progress, I think, in that area. So that feels good. Certainly limited engagement and feedback, 10%. So that's a pretty good small number to work with, but we're still having some challenges and struggles out there. Sure. So goal setting. So for the most part, 60% of the agents presenting will set their own goal. So that's, definitely the majority. And the other 40% answered where the goal setting is a work in progress and not done yet and not as consistent. So it's something that, we probably are getting used to the coaching circles in general and maybe trying to polish that goal setting or things to work on area up. Coaching circle follow-up. So this was like what kind of happens after the coaching circles, like if there is a goal set or if there's things identified to work on. A lot of people are using those coaching circles as kind of that main focus to work on some either skill practice or goal setting, and it might, stay there. Definitely there's some that are having brief discussions, maybe after the circle, maybe with check-ins or other different things. And other people felt like they were kind of limited, but definitely doing some one-on-one work with people that maybe need a little more support. So going well, what people felt is going well and has been improving over time is definitely participation. We're getting, probably better attendance. People are more engaged, giving better feedback. Maybe at first people weren't sure kind of about the process, but now they've gotten more comfortable and gained some trust and engagement in that group. Gaining perspective, maybe getting a better understanding of kind of, what's expected, but also kind of what we're doing during the coaching circles and kind of what's going on there. And definitely flexibility seems to be going well. People are becoming more open, flexible, and adaptable. Some of the barriers, which I think we've kind of identified these, there's really not a lot of surprise here. We've had a lot of conversations about this, but initially getting that buy-in, getting people to, not only just be a part of it, but almost like they want to be a part of it and are invested in it. Confidence, whether it's confidence, just presenting a tape or just the skills with the 4-step, that definitely can be a barrier. Capacity, being able to, as district supervisors, especially being able to be everywhere all the time, that's hard. And also having the capacity to do all the coaching that we want to do can be a struggle. Providing detailed feedback. Yeah, so some of the feedback might be more general and wanting to really hone in on some of those particular skills. Getting new agents and seasoned agents up to speed. Yep, when you first have a new agent, it takes a while for them to get through academy and then just starting to build on those skills. And some of our seasoned agents, like we've talked about as a group, they went through case plan training a lot of years ago. So ensuring that they're up to speed and kind of being almost the mentor and model, it takes some time and practice for sure. Translate practice into daily work. Love that. So just kind of like the coaching circle isn't just like an event. It's hopefully something that carries over into everything that we're doing for sure. So additional support needed. Majority felt none, like things are going well. And you look at over the past 2 years, we've made some good progress. We're certainly, open to giving people support that need it. Technical documentation, 20%, maybe improving. We're working on those forms and some different things, maybe to help with that. Building some capacity. I certainly know in my area, I wanted to build up some capacity to offer a little more one-on-one coaching, and I'm assuming others are kind of feeling that same strain. And setting expectations. What are the expectations of the coaching circle and of us maybe as supervisors and corrections program directors? There might be some areas we can definitely improve on and give some support. Any questions about the survey? I think we really just did the survey just to kind of get an overall gauge on how things are going for everybody. And definitely being in the coaching group and having these conversations, we want to make sure everybody feels supported, and thinking about if you are one of those that had those areas that you really do want some support, certainly reach out to us and we can kind of troubleshoot what that looks like and how we can kind of meet those needs. Because we, like we've talked about all along, we are really on this journey together and we really want to support everybody kind of where they're at. And we know we're at a little bit different phases. But I've just been so impressed with just all the progress we've made the past couple of years with the coaching and just very excited kind of where we're going. So feel free to reach out and hopefully we can meet what you need. Are there any questions about the survey or any of that?
Yeah, I have a couple, well, not about the survey, I guess. I have more questions about the Smartsheet stuff.
Yes, and Danelle is going to go over that.
Okay.
Yes, right. Yep. We're going to do 2 parts. We were going to go over this at our district meeting, but that's when we ran out of time. And so we thought we'll just at least get this out to you guys. And then Danelle's going to kind of go over, the Smartsheets and to see kind of where things are at and if we need to make changes or tweaks to that. Right, correct? Yep.
Yeah, that's the plan. So unless there are any other questions, I'll go ahead and share, and then we can get to the Smartsheets if that's helpful. I just figured it's helpful to kind of run through too, because I know I've had a few people say like, how do I get to that? So if you go in the Knowledge Center, just from our field services site, and then just like put in coaching, then it should put up, these 2 things. So that basically kind of shows both the survey and then also kind of the data. So you can do it. So one person asked me, like, do you have to do it one way versus the other? So if you are a supervisor, you can put it straight in the data if you prefer, but it might be easier to do the survey only because it's got like skip patterns. So I don't know if you want to take a look at the survey itself or take a look at the Smartsheet data. Maybe Trish, since you brought it up, do you want to take a look at the data first or what do you?
Well, those are some of my questions. Like, I think this answers quite a few of them. I was thinking about, like I have a staff meeting today, so I want to make sure we have the practitioners doing the surveys, which I'm not so sure we're always good about. And then my other question mark was, how do I get that data? Like, where can I get my data?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I think this is kind of the email template that we put below. Obviously, it's not an email or anything, but if you wanted to send that to the practitioners, maybe that would be helpful so they can kind of fill that out. But you should be able, the only people that can get data is people that have been shared to those particular Smartsheets. So for some reason you click on one of the both, but you can't get to it, let me know. You should be able to get to it, but I know things happen, so let me know. So you should be able to click straight from that iShare into the survey data itself. And then one person asked me, I thought, oh, that's a good point. You might want to see like a specific area. So if you're like, oh, I want to see Litchfield only, then you can sort, to specifically like where it's going to filter by district, if that's helpful. And then you can see your specific folks. So I don't know if that's helpful. One person said too, like, well, what if you've got like a circle? And I thought, oh, that's a good point. And then you want to do, like pull it down for a bunch of things. So I just wanted to show this too. If you're in here and it highlights like a little box, you can pull down for a ton of them. So it's like, let's say, and you obviously you had a coaching circle, you can do that and pull it down for a ton. Or if you had information here too, and you're saying, hey, like I want both, you can hit control and then click and then pull it all down, because someone was saying like, hey, it's a lot to like enter, and fair enough. So I just thought I would show some of those tricks in case that's helpful. Now I'm adding many things to Willie's Litchfield, but just for whatever data you want to put in there. So the only thing that I will say is that it there might be like a different skip pattern right for this too as well. So you could enter the data in here if you prefer, or you can enter it on the survey itself. And it does have the option of coaching circle or one-on-one. And I know people are kind of confused about this, like the role in the coaching, it's like that should be the person entering. So like how, were you the coach or were you the agent? Because it kind of depends on what it would be. And then these questions are actually in the form itself. So if you wonder like, what are we talking about for helpful feedback? We can only have this be so long as the header. You can look at the form itself again, either back at the Knowledge Center if you're like, hey, maybe pull it up side by side to kind of see what does that look like. Oh, it doesn't like me having like 10 things open at once. So you could kind of see, how does it go through? So first, you can put in the date for whatever date it is. It's probably helpful to have people do it right after. And then district, just pull down menu for whatever. And then whether it's a coaching circle or a one-on-one. And then coach name. We do have that currently as voluntary, but I think if you want to encourage your people to fill that out, that might be helpful because then you could get feedback to say like, especially if you have a DS and a CPD, it's like who is the coach and who is helping. And then what is their role? So it's like, okay, if you're an agent, you're being coached on a client interaction, that's probably the most common. So that's why we put that there. And then I received helpful feedback, whatever, they think, yeah, was pretty helpful. I think we've seen a lot of that, as you can see from the data. The things we discussed during coaching and the things I will practice on between sessions help me improve the skills I'm focused on. As you can see, it's a lot longer in here than it is on the sheet. And then they just select their answers. I felt listened to. Hopefully that's true. The case planning process is essential. 4-step process. Useful. I found value in the coaching process. My skills are improving. And then any other comments, maybe there's a question or something else. And then if you say, send me a copy of your responses, then you could put your own email address. If you're like, hey, I want it, sent to me, you can, have it sent to you. So you can have a copy of that if you want as well. But as soon as you hit submit, and I think this might have been your question, it'll end up here. So like when I'll hit submit and this will go into Bemidji. I was just gonna, I don't remember what I submitted as. It'll like take a second, but you'll see it end up popping up in here in a little bit. Let's see, Bemidji. And so you can see it kind of pops up here at the bottom. So it takes a second or two, but that same information from the form, and I don't know that I made that clear before, goes straight into the sheet, and then you have all of your information in the sheet. And I'm going to delete that because I don't want anyone to think that they didn't do a good job if I put kind of neutral answers in there. So yeah, so that's kind of the form that that practitioner would fill out. And then if you are the DS as a coach, then this might be the one you'd want to fill out, you know, saying, hey, you know, what's the date today? Same thing. I'll just put that in. And then practitioner name, whatever it is. And you can type it in too. So if it's not in the pull down, you could type it in, the district of the practitioner, coach name, the type of coaching. So are you doing one-on-one with them? And then you want to kind of evaluate your practitioner. So were they engaged, like fully, minimally, not? And then, and that's just for that session. And then again, you know, have they fully implemented the case planning process, minimally implemented, not implemented? And the practitioner is, you know, would you say a leader, follower, resistant? Again, that's just at that point in time. And then, you know, the practitioner used cognitive behavioral intervention. If you say no, it skips to different questions. So you can see that it just goes to comments. If you say yes, it asks you different questions. So someone asked me that in the sheet, it won't skip because it's not a form, so it can't have a skip pattern. But that's what you wouldn't have any information if they didn't use an intervention. And we're not saying, you know, there would always be an intervention. Obviously, if like have the first time you're meeting with a client, maybe there's not an intervention, right? And that's okay. But then you just say no in that space. I know someone asked me that question, like, would you say yes? Because it's like, no, they did what they were supposed to do. It's really just, you know, kind of about that to see, you know, what progress they're making, if that makes any sense, you know, from going to like potentially like less engaged to more engaged, or if they're really engaged and now they're starting to use, you know, intervention. So then just like, what is the intervention focused on? This is multiple choice. So if you're like, hey, you know, we focus on antisocial cognition, associates, and substance abuse, it seems like a lot, but you know, whatever it might be. And then was it focused on the client's driver? Yes. If not, it does ask a follow-up question of why is the driver not the focused? And you could say, well, we're on the initial case planning process, or they don't know how to identify the driver, or the client's directing the meeting towards an acute situation, maybe appropriately so. Intervention focused on area not linked to the driver, like a responsivity factor or an area of motivation, or if it's something other than that. And then we just ask like, okay, what's the other reason, you know, that maybe someone came in and arrested them during the meeting, like, I don't know, whatever. So maybe there's some other thing that you could put there. And then just any comments, and that's not a required field. So anything without a red star isn't required. So what other questions are there specifically about the Smartsheet? Or like what we could do to improve documentation or anything on that?
Okay, I have a question. So,
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
When we're doing a circle,
yeah,
we're only having one coach and one practitioner. Is that correct? Because I feel like everybody is giving feedback. So would we consider them everybody that's giving feedback and not presenting their tape that time a coach, or just?
That is a very good question. Yeah, go ahead,
Yep.
Carter.
So Danelle, I think if you go up, if you are going to do like, if you want to keep data on all the folks that you're that are in the circle, roll in the coaching circle. So do the participant. So a participant is someone that is in the circle, not leading the circle, but giving feedback. The practitioner is the one that provided the audio and received the feedback. And you can have a leader. So if you're not leading, if you have an agent leading that coaching circle, you can leave feedback on all those people. So I think we just said there's 3 different types of feedback that you can give, and it changes and it changes the drop down question. So for example, if you're a participant in the coaching circle, you didn't lead it, and you weren't the person that brought the audio, your the amount of information that you're going to give is limited, right? So it's going to say, are you engaged? Were you engaged in the process? But it's not going to ask you the other questions like, what was your audio? You know, the questions about your audio you're not going to have. So you can leave feedback on everybody in that coaching circle and develop some data to keep track of all the participants, no matter what their role is.
And
Does
that's
that
kind
help?
of why I was, yeah. Is that clarify things?
Can I just ask one more question about that? So this
Yeah.
is in the participant survey that you have those 3 choices. And the coaching survey is different, right?
This
This
is
is
No.
the coach survey. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
This is the one that you would fill out to keep track of the data for your employees. This one.
Right. So
The
I
other
thought
one that-
only supervisors or CPDs were supposed to be doing the coach one, right?
Correct.
Okay, so then in the participant one, so I mean, if I'm confused, Carter, because if I'm
No
doing the
worries.
coaching survey, the only person that should be doing that would be a DS or a CPD, right? So you would never
Correct.
be,
Yep.
you would always be the coach in that matter, the leader, right? Wouldn't you?
No, you're not talking about yourself though. You're leaving. So you're going to give feedback on
Oh, on everybody in the
Bob
circle.
Christie.
Now I'm with you.
Yep.
Gotcha. Sorry.
And Bob
Yeah.
could be one of those 3 types of roles, and you're going to have, so not that he's not a career already, but let's say somebody was just starting off, and so you could have 6 years of data about that person in various different roles. And yep, you'd be the only one leaving that feedback.
Gotcha.
And the other one is to everyone else in that circle about their feedback to you about how things are going and how they're feeling about things.
Got it.
Yeah, I know it's confusing with the name, but I think the name of the survey is like who should be filling it out, if that's helpful. And Jenny, you got a question or comment? And Janelle. Oh, I think you're muted, Jenny.
Sorry.
I heard that one.
I'm not. Hang on. I'm going to go. Like when I go into the Knowledge Fit Center and look at it, my practitioner survey looks very different than what you just showed.
She had the coaches survey on up. Not.
So you
The
go to
other
the
one.
coaches survey, but you click practitioner.
Poof. Yeah. Thank God someone's here to help me.
So I will add this is that if you are
Okay.
like, hey, I got to fill something out and you're like, I want a one-on-one with Danelle, I am 100% available. Like we can chit chat. It's like, let's go through this. I'm happy to do that too. So,
No,
you,
I hear where you're coming from now. So, okay, wait, one more. Lied. So the participant would do a participant one and a coaching one?
This one.
no,
Okay.
just the
'cause
participant one. So
the
you see that
role in
they're,
the coaching circle.
And
I could
agents
just
aren't
give,
able
like,
to
my
get
own-
into the coaches one.
my apologies, I missed part of that. It was a little fuzzy. Could you repeat that?
Can you clarify agents can only get into the participant one, not the coaching survey?
So they can get into any form. So that's a good point. So they could get into any form. So they could get into this survey or this survey, but they can't get into any of the data, if that makes sense. But if you've got somebody doing, surveys and you're like, don't do that. So I think that's why we wanted to clarify. It's like, this is the email. So rather than, I would personally, I think the plan originally was that you would send, say like, hey, practitioners, like fill this out, so it's kind of saying like, thanks, this is about the coaching session. It could be sent out after the coaching circles to
So just
tell
from
the participant to.
just from my like personal experience, I feel like it saves so much time if you just go into what Danelle did prior to this to the Excel sheet where she showed like you can just copy and paste, because then you can just list all of the agents that were in your circle and just go through, and like if they were all fully engaged, you can just copy that instead of going into the actual survey and filling it out for every single agent that you did it on. That
For a
was in
circle,
that
Chanel,
circle.
is that what you're saying? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Holly, you had your hand up, and then Trish, and then Janelle.
two things I was just going to try to say this in a different way that maybe might click for folks is that step one is for the person who brought the audio. That's who is filling that out. And then the other is for us to fill out who was in that coaching circle and what their role was and how did they do in that.
Yes,
So
or
I'm
a one-on-one if you got a one-on-one going to. Yeah.
Right. So hoping that maybe helps a little bit. Second part of that is for Danelle, I have a newer agent, and how do you get them added to that drop down menu?
So the drop down is open, so you could theoretically type it in, but I would say if you want to send it to me, I can also like add it to the list too, you know, just with the name.
I didn't know if like you added them in there after like they completed. So I was like, I don't know if that's really anyway. So, okay, that's it.
Yeah, and then Trish, I think you're next, and then Janelle.
So I'm just looking at my data here and agents are in both spreadsheets doing all sorts of crazy stuff. So I'm wondering if we can take that coaching survey and lock it down to just supervisors and CPDs.
I can talk to Dan and see if we can move it to a different location, because I think right now, I think everyone can get to it.
Because yeah, I'm looking at this going like so like on coaching circles, the lead person is putting themselves in as a coach and putting all the feedback in there and not in the ways we've described. So that's a problem.
You could provide feedback on them. They're not following process. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, that's potentially a good point that it's like people are just filling out whatever. And it's like, no, that's not what we need you to do. So yeah, I'll work with them to see what we can do. Cause I know that I guess I don't know anything about the new iShare that we're moving to, but I would assume it has the same limit, permissions that we can lock it down to supervisor only. I'm assuming you have a different question, Janelle, or comment?
I feel like I have similar. I think Holly spoke to it. I have a couple of staff, not new, but they can't find their name in the drop down. And so I had emailed it, but I just got a message. If there was any updates, they're still not able to find their name. So will they be added or should they add their own name?
I don't think that I don't think that they put their name in there at all. This is anonymous. This is an anonymous survey, correct?
Yeah, I was going to say, so I was just looking at in the coaching practitioner survey.
No,
the only name they would put in, yeah, that would be for you to put in. And so you
they're
can
not
type
filling
in,
out the other one. That's
yeah.
what we just talked about.
Okay.
So
yeah.
coach name is voluntary. So like you'd be the coach, so they could put in Janelle if you were coaching them. But
I feel
we
like
made
they
that
saw
voluntary.
other people's drop down name though, because they were like, I can't choose my own name. But other agents were there. I don't know.
Yeah, they
That's
must be
because
in
they're
the
in the
other
wrong
one.
place.
Yeah. That should be helped
we
by the
can't have
lock
that
it down.
happen.
Yeah.
That they shouldn't have access to that one. I didn't realize that.
Well, they don't have access to the data. They only have access to the form.
Well, but then they're adding to the data, right?
Yeah,
well, yeah, they could if they're inappropriately reading the site and not following directions, then yeah.
Well, but I mean, we're all kind of confused here. I mean, yeah. So I mean, if they just had access to one, I mean, the easiest is to cut and paste that email right there and then just send it to them that way. So for example,
it's supposed to have them come here. Yeah, like this.
Just went like this, and then send them the survey, the links right there on it, and just put it into an email. Then they wouldn't even go into the knowledge center. But so then, but they shouldn't. This is this is instructions for you as a coach.
Yeah, it's in the supervisor handbook, and I'll talk to Dan about getting that second part locked down. Then they won't be able to enter. But if there's data, you're like, hey, you need me to delete it, or you need to delete it, let me know. I just don't want to delete anything that's valuable. I don't see any other hands. Any other questions? Oh, I see a comment there. Sorry. How about they just bookmark it on their desktop laptop?
Yep. Perfect. Or just save the email, or I don't know. Just that's a yeah. Yep, good. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it still
Awesome.
stands. If you have anybody say any questions or, feel free to reach out to me and we can pour through it and take a look at it, and happy to help. So yeah. Back to you, Carter.
Awesome. Thank you. So let's see. A couple things that came up. I think Holly had asked about the expungement and adding some direction to that. So in short, a few things. In Minnesota, expungement doesn't mean erase, and so even if you get an order that says please expunge, doesn't mean that you delete anything. It just means that you note in CSTS, and OAS seniors have had some guidance on this. But I'm wondering if Kelly, Dan, Danelle can maybe put a spot in the Knowledge Center that articulates that again about what you do. But I think that is there. Is that fair? Holly, was that part of your question? Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that was part of it. And then it's the agents that are doing bail studies and then PSIs or like worksheets. And so when they're cross-referencing what is in the criminal history section already, like the merge screen, and then BCA is saying what they've I haven't seen it, but it's like it's either record sealed or Sam, what was the other example?
That was the one I'd heard, record sealed.
So what I'm hearing you say is we can leave it in our criminal history. That's the
I wouldn't.
guideline I
I'm just
got.
saying you're sealing it and you're not deleting it off of CSTS. But yeah, that's a problem if it's still coming over from the BCA at all. It shouldn't be.
I don't know that it is coming over. What I'm saying is like, so they did a PSI or a criminal history from say 3 years ago. And now they're getting ordered to do a bail study. Well, now when they cross-reference that, it says sealed. So should we be deleting it out of the criminal history now?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay, but then guidelines says that kind of what you're saying is that expungement doesn't like that you can still use it on the worksheet.
Oh, so I'm talking out of my backside.
So, and that's I well, and I think this
could be.
So Carter, I think that's kind of does anyone Willie's got his hand up. So I'm just how are other people? Does anybody really know how we're supposed to be doing this exactly? And do we have good guidance for our agents? And because I'm not talking about deleting the case out of CSTS, like in the case screen, I'm talking about that mergeable area. Okay.
Willie?
My question was a little different. So if there's other comments on this, I'll wait.
So like Linda's guidelines said, that expungement doesn't necessarily mean that you can't use it on the, she put it in there. And so kind of her wording was like, it could be verbally, this is what she said, and then I kind of reaffirmed it later on, which was when something is expunged, it kind of helps with like employment and housing, but it doesn't necessarily get removed from your criminal history. However, that kind of contradicts the BCA piece if it's saying record sealed. Like really, should we be bringing that in? And if we see that, should we be deleting from that details screen?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Okay.
I would like a clarification on that too, because I'm on 100% on your page, Holly, and I don't know the answer to those either. And that's going to be, I mean, that could really impact whether someone goes to prison or not. It impacts what you put in your, I mean, all of
For
those
sure.
things.
For sure. Holly, would you do me a favor and articulate that in an email so I'm not writing right now?
Yeah.
And then we'll try to we'll send that to legal for advice and
Perfect.
an answer. Thank you. Appreciate
Okay.
that.
Sounds
Yep.
good.
No clue. Don't know.
And if you get that advice back, Carter, and you want it to be posted on iShare, can you share that with us so that?
Oh yeah, no, for sure. That should be on there. That's perfect for that. Thank you. Willie's good. Willie.
My question was in the same vein, but a little different. So we've had some files, like it's happened mostly in Alexandria on our pretrial, where we have an open file and then this happens and it gets expunged and it just goes away, but there's no court document coming to us saying the file's been closed. So we have a closed file that doesn't exist anymore, but no document to put in CSTS to close our file in CSTS. And we're wondering, can we close a file in CSTS without a document to support it, or how?
No, the guidance that I got from the state court administrator's office is that unless, like for us, unless we have an order that tells us to do something, we don't do anything.
So we should keep this a person on pretrial, even though the case is closed and like doesn't exist in MGA, and keep
Oh, I see what
testing
you're
them.
saying. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, no.
There's a
Are
disconnect
you
for
talking about
sure. Willie's
pretrial?
on track. We've had that up here too.
Okay.
So I don't know if that's a court
Willie?
administration error, maybe like
Probably.
certain court administration people aren't processing it in the way they need to be. I don't
I bet.
know. That's my guess.
Yeah.
Were they on pretrial, Willie?
Some of them were. Some of them were on supervision.
Oh, well, like if they were on supervision, I know in the past, like we've done a request for discharge and just note at a court hearing on whatever date, or it's the court ordered on this date that this file be closed or whatever. Whatever the court did that closed it, we just do the request for discharge, noting that and the date, and then submit it to the court. They sign our order and then we're able to close it. But it is the agent tracking it to submit that to the court, and then we get an
Yeah.
order.
That's probably a more responsible way to do it, even though we have the guidance. Willie, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing. Would you tee up that question and just send it to me, and then I'm going to put it all in one question to legal and see if we can get some guidance on that.
Yep. I'm going to include
Appreciate
Jared
it.
because he maybe will add some other provocative
Perfect.
thoughts.
Usually he does.
I
Very
think the
provocative, that
problem
guy.
is that we can't communicate with the court because the file doesn't exist. It's completely gone.
That's
Like
exactly it, Jared, because what happens is, so if I have somebody on probation, I don't ever know that that file's been expunged until maybe the offender says something. And then I call over to court and there's no record because they haven't sent us the order. And when they do the order for expungements, it's in the file that they close. So we don't have access.
Exactly.
Is that it, Jared?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, we
So
need to figure
we're
this out.
missed in the process, I think. If we could somehow reach out to state court administration to make sure court administrators are sending us those expungement orders, that would be really helpful. Because then to Willie's point, you could just link it in CSTS and close your file. But we're not getting the orders, at least up here.
Well, I think that guidance, I mean, the guidance was there. It's just a matter of,
Process.
well, yeah, they're just making mistakes is what they're doing. And
But it's in a lot of different areas, so I'm wondering if their guidance was misunderstood.
okay,
Or
maybe,
different
yeah.
different areas could be doing different things for
For
sure.
sure. That's always the case.
Well, and then how it, I'm thinking ahead, which isn't, well, it is, and it's not our problem. It's like, how are they going to identify the ones that they missed? I don't know. It's almost like there should be a process for us to fix this because they're not going to be able to do it. I mean, in reality.
Do the clients get notice if their case is expunged?
Hope so.
Right? Like, because
I just have to believe there's a backdoor system where they can pull all expungement orders. Don't you think? I don't know. And maybe that's a function of state court administration and local court administrators can't do that. I don't know.
I feel like that's part of like we get notification through those event listings, but I feel like all of our counties, districts receive different event listings, and sometimes it's dependent on the court administrator who doesn't want to make changes. But I feel like we would benefit if there were some consistencies there, and then maybe these expungements could land in a bucket there. Because like if the judge orders a pre-plea worksheet outside or after via communication, then it doesn't land on an event listing, then they're looking for it at the court hearing, but we never got the order. There are just things missed with that system.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think this is going to be a couple step system. I think that the guidance from legal is going to be pretty limited. I mean, they're just going to probably just articulate what it is that the law is. That doesn't really help us necessarily, but then maybe it's a conversation with them and then go to the state court administrator to tell them about the issue and what's going on, and that we need help to identify these and please get us the orders sort of situation. So, okay, we'll start with that.
So do you want me to have Karen Fredrickson contact Jeff Shorba? Do you remember that? Come on, that's funny.
I don't remember that, but I could imagine that conversation. That I'll keep my comments to myself, but that's pretty.
Yeah. But I think that's who has to resolve it for us, I think, is Jeff.
Yeah. Or Jeff or somebody that has been tasked with that. Yeah, exactly.
Well, and it could be that Karen Janiski. I can't say her last name. She does a lot of the sentencing stuff. She's the one that did all of that probation cap information. Remember Karen?
Yeah.
So
I do. So good. All right. Brian, do you want to come? You have a question about the DS meeting or the commissioners?
Yeah, just one thing that I wanted to bring up, and I think when Paul was talking about the allocations and the funding formula to me, and I heard this, and maybe I misunderstood it, but it was he quietly addressed an elephant in the room type of subject. It appeared to me where wage increases, our future wage increases over this next one, are not going to be covered under this funding formula because we're not getting an increase.
Correct.
So that brings up my question of how are we covering those wage increases? Is that going to my county? Are we bringing that to them to pay for that now, or how is this all going to work?
I don't know. So what I've been advocating for is that we get an operating adjustment for probation and supervised release, or that budget, as well as the ISR budget. There's a debate with CCA and MACPO that we should all live within the funding formula, and if the funding formula doesn't cover it, that we should be fighting for funding formula increases. Now, AMC is going to be fighting for a funding formula increase.
The next time.
The next time.
So this next one is what I'm really concerned about.
I am too. Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know.
Because I mean, I'm one of the type of people that likes to be like thinking a year from now.
I've been working on it, yeah, too. So,
and when I have to go to my county and I have to say, guys, this is going to cost another, let's just throw it up there, $50,000 on top of their levy. You see where I'm going with this? It's like this system right now with the way the funding formula was set up initially, with at the time period of when probation caps started taking place, all of us that were completing early discharges it's like this funding formula was completely set to say this will eventually go back to the counties. That's the way I'm feeling, especially over the last couple of weeks here, of the intention of this is to put corrections back on the counties outside of institution work and ISR possibly. And so that's kind of the elephant in the room for me right now, is because I've got really good relationships with my county boards. But if I'm going to be at a place where I'm going to be saying, hey, Becker, you're covering my wage increases for my staff, holy shit, that is a marketing nightmare for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I know how I can navigate it, but it's not going to go well. So I want to be talking about this now versus like, oh shit, in a month from now.
So I echo those thoughts, Brian. And my anxiety is so high with this because I feel like we've talked about all this since May and we're no closer to any
Correct.
outcomes. And then to have the commissioner kind of not understand that there's a great number of counties that really had to increase their levies. Like I'm surprised he doesn't know that. And then the second part of that is too, as we move forward, like May is really right around the corner when we need to start doing budgets again. And I don't know what to do or what to say or how to start having those conversations. And
Well,
we're billing them since July for items that I can't articulate.
And my other thing to this, and Trish, thanks for that, is when we look for an appropriation for our FS admin, just take for instance, like what you're talking, I think that's an excellent idea. However, devil's advocate of being CCA MACPO, now they see us trying to cover our admin costs. Now they're going to want admin costs for their directors, their IT people, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like, no matter what we do, they will use that against us to say, well, we want that too. And now it just falls apart of that's too much money for everybody. You need to live within the funding formula. That's all you're getting. And so that's where I feel like this is ultimately going to, over the course of the years, become simply county run. And it's just an uncomfortable spot like that we're in right now, because it's like this, how do I say it? It's the bigger elephant in the room. And I don't want to be a downer in this meeting today. That's not why I'm bringing this up, but it's scary.
Well, and the other thing to think about, Brian, is they aren't fully funding the formula. So
No.
for me, my frustration is it is no different than how we used to do it, where they would say, oh, we'll give you up to 50%, but they never funded the full 50%, right? And so we're in the same boat now. Oh, here's your funding formula. Oh, but we didn't really give everybody their full dollar amount.
You
So
know,
that's
and
the
Kel-
other problem.
And Kelly,
And the
you're
funding
exactly
formula
right.
is still set in the old numbers. Like the funding formula needs to increase in percentages equivalent to our pay raises, right? Otherwise, we're always going to be behind.
So that's what I wanted to bring up today of, I know how to navigate this as if I'm like part of a county. It's super easy then because those are our staff. We need to increase wages, et cetera, et cetera. But when I go to a third party to say, hey, pay for my staff, holy shit, it's just, that's some anxiety there.
Yeah, it is closer. I mean, it's closer to all. I mean, that was the idea with the change in the funding formula, is that all three delivery systems would be treated similarly, right?
Right.
And so if we were to get an operating adjustment through the Department of Corrections, the other two delivery systems aren't getting an operating adjustment.
Exactly.
They're getting that from their counties. And so the argument is, well, Brian's got the funding formula, and anything not covered by that funding formula, however the said county wishes to provide their supervision, they need to cover above and beyond that, no matter what you're under.
Exactly.
And so and so whatever angle that I can take as far as like I think I've got the ear now. And whether that's through an operating adjustment, which I've been told we are getting, it's December and I don't know how much that is, or if I can ask for a special appropriation, which I think we have a different argument for than CCA, because the other two delivery systems rely upon myself and Sarah and Deb and FS admin to do some of their stuff, right? And so we're doing some statewide work. We write policies. We're having to do some stuff that affects everyone, not just this delivery system. That I have an argument to say that we're special. That is different. That Anoka County doesn't, their administration doesn't do any work for us, but we do work for them. That is different. So I understand what you're saying. But it doesn't matter if we get a operating adjustment or I think the operating adjustment would be less. Holy shit, DOC's getting more money than we are, than pulling a special appropriation out.
I don't agree with that at all. And I just think the comment that Paul offered to us in kind of a nice, discreet way of there is no more. And wage increases will not be covered. That's a worry.
Yeah, but that's by the funding formula. What
Correct.
I'm trying to pull out is something other than that.
Correct.
I don't have any control over whether the legislature funds that or not, but what I can do is argue for something else.
And do we know technically when that would go in and when technically we would be saying, okay, hey, we have all of our wage increases covered? Do we have a timeline of that?
Well, I chuckle because I've been asking for it for a while. Like we should have right now. I should know what our operating adjustment is. It's not enough to cover the wages, but it's something.
Okay.
And then for next year, we should again get another operating adjustment. Maybe it's going to be not adequate, but it's going to be something. And then in 27, I think I have the green light to ask for at least pull out a percentage of myself and Sarah and Deb and FS admin.
Yeah.
I would ask for all of it. I don't know how much support I'm going to get for all that, but yeah, it's frustrating, but it's for the commissioner, it's how do we navigate this politically and not do what you're saying and where we're sounding off the alarms where we're going to get a lot of pushback. How do we try to do it in a way that's reasonable and
well, and I
discreet.
completely agree with what Kelly has in the comment there. This is why. I mean, at some point it's going to be, well, we're starting to pay more and more and more. Why wouldn't we just do this? It would make sense for us to just do this. And that really sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody else have anything on that? Am I the only one besides Trish? I don't know.
I think we all have the same concerns, and I don't know, it's good that we talk about these things and have somewhat of an understanding of where we're headed. And I think Carter is, go fight, win, trying, and that's all he can do. What comes to my mind is we're really hunkered into just what is needed, like steps. And then our cost of living increase was impacted where you see other state agencies not in the same predicament of us. and then we're losing or not able to hire, you know, staff. They're, you know, we here within our counties, and that's where I think some of the counties are going to understand, like, yep, you got to pay your wages and wages go up. I think there is an understanding from our county stakeholders that, yep, that's the normal. But I also see, and I would probably, if I got into a discussion with my county stakeholders, is, you know, highlight, well, you know, we didn't give our staff a 7% increase. You know, we're trying to manage, we gave a 1.9, I think it was 1.9, maybe 1.5. But I think that the DOC has been very financially responsible in these trying times. That has, I would say, negatively impacted our staff. You know, those kind of things. So that's a bigger concern I have moving forward, that we are significantly falling behind as an agency in staff salaries, because we've not only not met the cost of living that our counties are offering that we work within, but we also are not doing the pay equity, those kind of things. Because I think we still haven't heard anything back about like the OAS that was supposed to be in their agents, and that's been multiple years. So I think there's a bigger picture, but definitely concerns when we go before the county.
Yeah, and I just want to make very clear that this is not a Carter issue. This is above all of us.
Yeah.
And
right.
Carter
And
can
I want
only
to go
do
back
so
to
much
also,
anyways.
sorry, Brian.
No, that's okay. I was just going to say it's much bigger than just this room. And
it is. And part of, you know, and I might have been overstepping a bit, but it's like when you talk about trust in government, when Paul was talking about that at our meeting, and we see things that happen around us, like you say you support field services and you say you want us to stay, but all of the actions that are out there say otherwise. So at some point in time, actions have to speak louder than words. And I don't know what else to say about that.
Well, and that is my issue, because it is me being able to communicate this and bring this forward and sell this as what it is. And so I have been trying, but it certainly was helpful to hear it from other people and have those questions come up and have him think about those things. Because as much as I say it, and it's just helpful to hear it from multiple people. So that super helpful. And so when I talked to him Tuesday, he was like, "We have to do something about this." I mean, those are the words that came out of his mouth. Excellent. And when I talked to Kelly yesterday, she said the same thing. So and I brought it up again. Well, finance, I still don't have I don't have an answer on what the operating adjustment is that we will receive. So it's a problem.
Well, and she said she's going to be going out on leave. So, like, if budgets are due and coming up, like, she's going to be out on leave.
Yeah.
Well,
the operating adjustment isn't coming from Sarah, but yeah.
And that's another thing, and it's no dog on Sarah. You know, I know she's got to fight in a lot of other things. I had emailed her 3 weeks ago asking for my specific Becker and Monoman budgets. Not even a reply. You know, because I needed a breakdown, and I don't want to be like, "Hey, can I get this?" Knowing how busy she is, but it's like that should be very accessible to us. We should have that accessible. And I don't want to be pounding her door down saying, "Hey, I emailed you 3 weeks ago and I don't have anything yet."
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep, for sure.
And I think that goes back to my point about actions speak louder than words. We don't have finance staff in the volume that we need it, right? Because Sarah's got only so many hours a week that she can work with field services versus her other obligations. And so if you're not even going to support us with those basic pieces, how in the world do we ever move forward?
And that, yeah. So I'm not trying to be a downer, Carter. Please don't take it that way. But, and I know coaching circles is super important. But these 19 staff that I don't want to do a layoff, because that's what I'm thinking of is a year from now. I don't want that. That's more important to just kind of get that resolved and somewhat solved. So
we're working on it. Sarah was handed a huge mess, and she is I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to it other than me, but she has come a long way as far as what she's been able to do, and we have a plan to organize, move forward, get you guys the numbers that you need, and organize it in a way that things won't break. And she's fixed every day. She's fixing and making better, and we have a project to continue to come ahead and make that better and better all the time. We're not going to rest on our laurels, that's for sure. She understands.
And I would back you up on that, Carter. Sarah's very bright and she digs in and she tries to understand and works hard to get things organized. But what she's also shared with a few of us is that her boss, whoever that is, only gives her X amount of hours each week with field services. And in the boat we're in, we need a full-time person right now to get through this and get it organized. And to, I think Samantha's point in there, like, so what happens when she leaves or maybe decides not to come back from leave? We're all over again because we don't have anybody that understands our systems. That just doesn't seem like a real way to do finance on a state level.
I can speak to that. I don't know if the word is that problem's been solved, but I've gotten through to the commissioner and the deputy commissioner and Kelly, and that feeling that she had of being ripped away from field services is gone, let's just say. We've articulated and I've complained about this and said this is fucking ridiculous enough to where they finally now Kwesi is going to be on our problem solving team himself. Starting, when is that? Danelle next week, whatever it is, to that he's been told, no, you're going to be part of the solution here. And as we're moving forward, not that we'd want to lose Sarah, but she is part of the project, and part of what she's doing is writing down. And we would never be in a situation that we were when Julie left, where nothing was communicated. That will all be that can't happen in the future. If she moves on, which people do, or she accepts a job or is promoted or whatever it is, that we're not going to be left with a big fucking mess again.
That's progress.
That's progress. Like that will never. That's what I've repeated. I don't know how many times. This can't happen again, ever. But I don't want to lose her. She's awesome, and she communicates well, and she's got a can-do attitude, and she's just easy to work with. Ask her to do something, she's like, "Yep, I'm on it. Sounds awesome. I have some suggestions. Great, tell me." So. Okay. Anything else?
I had one.
Are you going to bring it up, Sean?
Yeah, I had a question from some of my agents, and maybe this is just a quick ask, but they were told that they were not able to attach documents like treatment discharge summary notes or UA results to probation violations. but most of my agents had always done that, and I feel like I'd asked some other people, and it seems like a lot of us have been attaching those documents to probation violations. So just wondering what the group thinks, like, because we would need that evidence to substantiate a violation in a lot of cases. So why? Does that question make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. I'm just trying to think about like, so I mean, not that what I did was right, but it's just not uncommon to me to attach all those things from the get, right?
That's what I always did.
The other thought is you do a violation, and then when it comes to a violation hearing, then you provide the discovery at that time.
But if you're submitting a violation requesting a warrant, the judge is going to need that to decide whether or not to grant that warrant. So if you're withholding that information from the jump, you're not giving the judge what they need, but then you're going to have to disclose it anyway. So I don't see the point in why not just disclose it from the jump.
I don't either. Who's telling us not to do that?
So my senior, who is very knowledgeable, had told the agents in one of my offices that they couldn't do that. But that was not it's not practice that I've ever heard of, or I've always just attached that stuff. So
and he had reached out to me, and I wondered if it was some guidance when we first started e-filing about like file sizes and such, and doing exactly what Carter or one of you had said about providing the documentation at the hearing versus attaching it to. I don't know, but that was years ago, and I think my district is all over the board. Like, I think some people attach stuff and some people don't. So, and Jenny had mentioned maybe it's a court preference, but anyway.
I just know in Goodhue, they don't want stuff attached, but in Le Sueur, they do want stuff attached. I also know there's some new process coming through with court administration and how attorneys submit, like evidence or, what's the word I'm looking for? Discovery. They have to do that through a different system, I think. So we've had conversations about that with our CJAB board here, but I don't think that affects us.
So it's the OAS. Where did the OAS senior get this? Like, is this somebody's, just preference idea, or?
I think she had said it was like HIPAA related, like because treatment documents are HIPAA, but our probation violations aren't filed publicly. It's not like it's publicly available information, and we have to provide that information as part of our violation at some point anyway. I mean, we can't, if we couldn't provide evidence to our violation, they'd all get thrown out. So, I mean, that information is going to be submitted at some point, whether it's right away or.
Yeah.
I've never heard of this change.
I'd never heard of it either. I started this office hours thing where I answer questions sometimes, and they bombarded me with that question. So
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you wear a sweater with elbow patches during office hours?
I should. I don't. My sweater doesn't have elbow patches.
At least his fire is real, Willie.
That's true.
Love it.
So I think we can fairly say they can attach it unless the court tells them not to.
Absolutely.
Okay, sounds good.
Right?
Yeah. I was reluctant. Like, did something happen that I didn't know about? Like,
that's how I felt. I was like, where is this coming from? I've never heard of this.
Yeah.
Would legal be willing to come to an all call and talk about like confidentiality and things like that? Like, I feel like we get endless questions on repeat about, can we release the PSI? Can we release psychosexuals? Can we release, all of these things? And then rumor mill starts happening clearly, right? And I feel like they would benefit from hearing it from legal. Because no matter how much I tell my district, there's still other districts that have these questions or get different answers, I feel like sometimes.
Yeah, Adam Hewitt is our data practices dude. He's also an attorney. And I think that's a good idea. I'm trying to think of how to tee it up because I wouldn't want to, like on an all call, just say, all right, who's got a question, you know, and bombard them with shit. But if we had, if we could send out a survey or a smart sheet and have people ask questions and maybe he could be prepared with the answers, something like that. I don't know. Yeah, why not? So, right, it is 12:30. Is that our end date, end time? So thank you for your time. Have a wonderful day, everyone.